Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2, a podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives, or any other combinations of business partnerships. As well as speaking with other couples, we will let you know of any other useful business apps or websites out there that we have discovered to help you with your business.
We're your hosts, husband and wife team Tracy and Ian, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. We host online and face-to-face events and we'd love to meet you, so why not come along? The link to book is in the show notes. Today's guests are Jen Whitfield and Nikki Wallis, two tea-drinking Yorkshire-based marketeers who run Tea and Marketing. Combining Jen's strategy and digital marketing background and Nikki's content and copywriting experience, Tea and Marketing offers straightforward marketing support for small business owners. Jen and Nikki's mission is to create stress-free spaces where owners and founders can learn how to make marketing work for them and actually enjoy reaching new people and promoting their products and services. So without further ado, let's crack on with In Business Talks 2. So, welcome to our In Business Talks 2 podcast, and today we have with us Jen and Nikki of Tea and Marketing. Welcome, ladies. Lovely to see you. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
It's good to have you with us.
That sounds so scared, Jen. That was a little high. And we have got our obligatory cups of tea.
Of course we have. Of course, if it's Tea and Marketing, you've got to have
Tea and
that.
Marketing, yes. So.
Okay, I suppose we should start then by asking you, could you tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So Tea and Marketing has been going about 6 months. We've just officially launched last month as well. And we exist to support small businesses with their marketing. We came across the idea because we both had our own businesses beforehand, and we were going to a lot of networking events where we were meeting people who absolutely hated marketing. And they were asking loads of questions about what they should say on Facebook and just generally being overwhelmed and stressed out by it. And we just didn't think that was good enough. So we banded together with our experience in copywriting, content writing, digital strategy, and have created lots of services that we think small businesses can both afford and will also be effective, rather than the kind of thing that big agencies can sometimes kind of cobble together for small businesses, which are often not as effective for small business owners.
Yeah, good. I think that's important, that what small business can afford, because often some of the big agencies charge an absolute fortune, don't they really? And you think, well, I think they'd get more people if they were more reasonably priced.
And it's beyond people's reach, isn't it? When you're starting out.
Yeah, so we've said we don't really want to be another agency because there's agencies out there that already serve that purpose. You know, where the sort of conduit between, you know, they've done it themselves and they're not at the point where they can take a full-scale agency on or employ somebody to come in and do the work for them, like an assistant or something. So we're sort of like that conduit in between. We're calling ourselves sort of like the drop-in marketing team for small businesses, so they can come to us as and when they need us, when they need that extra bit of support.
So I think we probably want to know what inspired you to start the business and whose idea was it?
Who came up with the idea? Yeah.
So I think it was always, as soon as we both went self-employed, which we did we quit our individual jobs within about a week of each other by complete coincidence. And I think from very early on, when we realised we were both going to go self-employed, it became, I don't know, I don't think it was really a conversation. We just assumed that we'd end up working together at some point. And as I say, we supported each other going to networking events and things like that. And we were just sat having a conversation and realised that we were both irritated and frustrated by the exact same things in the industry. Like I've mentioned, people not basically believing that marketing is just Facebook. That really bugs both of us, because Facebook can be really useful, but often it's just one small element of a much bigger thing that is marketing. And so we sat down and we kind of just, the idea just sort of flowed, really, didn't it? We were both there with our cups of tea. And,
we went for a walk.
another
chat.
And it just happened. It just came out. The idea just surfaced. And we knew we wanted it to be something different. We knew that we wanted both of our individual skill sets. We knew that they would work together very well, and we knew that it was something that most small businesses don't get. They don't get that kind of multiple brains and eyes on a problem. It's usually just one other person if they work with a freelancer. So we knew there was something there that would be of value to businesses. And because we just started our own small businesses ourselves, even though, I've spent 15 years in marketing, it's really difficult to market yourself. Much more difficult than marketing anything else. So, and we both realised that. We just wanted to make it easier for others. I don't know if you'd add anything else there, Nikki?
Yeah, I think we just unofficially talked about it. Like, oh, well, if I get a client that needs copywriting, but actually they could do with some strategy, I'll just say, hey, my friend does strategy, and we sort of do it together. So we sort of always said if we felt a client needed both of us, we'd just kind of, one would do the voice work and subcontract out to each other. But then we started talking about it, and it was like, actually, does this have legs as a business within its own right, with its own brand, its own proposition, really targeting at small business owners? And also from a logistical finance point of view, it made a lot, when we spoke to our retrospective accountants, it made a lot more sense setting it up in its own right than having to one invoice the other, and it would just become a lot more complicated. So we've kind of been talking about it from like the day we both went self-employed, but kind of like unofficially. And then one day we were like, yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't we make it into something?
Yeah, that makes sense. Were you friends? Well, I know you knew each other, but were you actually friends?
Yeah, we've been friends a long time.
All right.
Since we were like 16?
Yeah.
Oh, only a couple of years then.
I'm longer than we look.
We met at college. We had quite a few friends in common. We both went away to university. So our friendship's we've always been friends. And it's throughout the years, we've kind of been really close, and then we've just talked occasionally, and then we've been really close again. We got married within a couple of months of each other as well. So, we both went to each other's respective weddings, and we live like 15 minutes away from each other. Nikki is my son's godmother as well. So, we're pretty close.
And do you have like a shared vision for the business, and what's your ultimate goal? Is it to become, well, I know we've sort of touched upon it, but if you don't want it to become a huge agency or global or UK, what is your aspiration for the business? What are your thoughts?
So we have a business vision, which is that we want as many people who want to have their own business or be self-employed to be able to do that. That is our vision, our big goal. And our mission, the way that we can help a tiny bit towards that, is by offering marketing advice that is going to really support people, and mentoring and everything else. And as Nikki mentioned, we don't want to be an agency, but what we do want is to have a wealth of products and services and a little black book of other freelancers that we can collaborate with, project manage bigger website projects, for example.
Yeah.
We want to be able to do all of that. We want to be the go-to when there's a small business who knows that they need something else, that they're kind of struggling to, get where they want to go, whatever their goal is. And that doesn't have to be massive growth. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be, I'm spending all my days on Facebook and I haven't got time to take more coaching clients, or I don't have time to make more stuff that I need to make to sell to be a business. We want to be the people that people think, okay, you need to speak to Tea in Marketing, you need to speak to Jen and Nikki.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenges you faced in this 6 months since you started your business?
I suppose one of the challenges has been a lot of business, obviously, when you're working and when you're working employed, it's sort of hours driven, and thinking obviously they do two very different things, and by no means are they any less valuable. But copywriting takes physical, well, not physical, literal hours of me sat at my desk writing. So it's kind of, obviously we're self-employed, so we can, we don't have to think in that sort of mindset. So it's more sort of thinking about the energy that we both bring and the output. So more of us, like, rather than it being like hours driven and output driven. So as long as we're both bringing the same energy and both, bringing output rather than, both working 20 hours a week, for example, then that works. Whereas before we were maybe trying to be like, well, if you do this amount of hours and I do that, and it just was, we're overcomplicating it really. So yeah, it's as long as you both got the, we've got the same work ethic and we're both working towards a goal. It doesn't really matter how we get to the goal as long as we're both working towards it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So, do you have each individual sort of goals? Do you have different goals? Do you have different objectives as well? I mean, do you have separate goals, what you'd like to achieve?
Maybe not goals, separate kind of remits, but not necessarily maybe goals.
Yeah.
I think because we've got our own businesses still as well, which are helping us kind of support ourselves whilst we get this going, because we want to do this right. So I do some kind of marketing training and strategy myself, and Nikki does some copywriting herself. So we've always got kind of other things going on. But for us, it's just, it's that shared, the whole thing is powered by this shared vision and these shared objectives. So for example, we have a workshop. We have a workshop coming up soon. So we're both quite concentrated on doing our individual bits that help the workshop. For example, so at the moment, we tend to have specific things that we're working towards together. In the future, yes, we would probably have different things that we then kind of, one of us will work towards one thing, one of us is working towards the other. But generally, we're working towards the same things. Yeah, but we have our different disciplines. So, Nikki will be sat there doing the words for something whilst I'm thinking of the operational side of things, of how to actually do it. For example, setting up Eventbrite for the workshop was mostly me, whereas Nikki kind of came to me with, fantastic paragraphs of text to sort of drop in. And, that's where we both feel comfortable, and that's kind of what works for us. So yeah, we do very different things, but always working towards very shared goals at the moment.
You've got different skill sets in the company, haven't you, as well?
And you do different roles as well. I mean, sort of who, obviously one does the more the marketing and one does the more the words, but I mean, from roles from actually running the business, does somebody take the lead on, I don't know, the financial side of things, and somebody does the can't think what else there might, but help me out here, Tracy, but something else as well that you need to run a business. There's a marketing bit, and then there's all the other bits that go as well, which I can't think of at the moment. Anyway, you get the drift, don't you? You get the drift.
Yeah. I think because we're in marketing, like that is a massive part, especially when you first start out as actually running your business. So both our outputs in terms of the product that we offer and the marketing, it's all kind of the same thing, which is helpful because, as you said, that's, other than the finance, that's a big side of it. So we just take, our individual strengths and we work in that way. When it comes to, the kind of day-to-day admin and things like that, we basically split it. Usually there's jobs that one of us will say, oh, I don't mind doing that. Or the other one will say, I can't stand doing that. Or I haven't got the focus to do that, which is usually me. And
not always.
Not always.
I notoriously hate admin, so...
Whereas Nikki's extremely good at like to-do lists and keeping us on track. So she naturally fell into that role, which is really important. Whereas I maybe naturally fall into some of the admin bits that I know Nikki doesn't like. And if there's bits neither of us like, we then have a conversation. And it's, do we have the resources to outsource this at the moment? Or is it something one of us is just going to have to bite the bullet and do? And we've never had a problem with that. We've always, because we both have the same motivations, we both really want this to work, we could be asked to, I don't know, jump in the deep end of a pool and we'd both do it if it meant that we were going to reach our goals with the business.
Yeah.
Do you agree on everything then?
Mostly, I would say so.
I would say no. I think you're right. Mostly we do, but I think there are
things. Yeah,
all the big things, and that is what matters. So we keep saying the word goal. We're both working towards the same vision. We both have the same values, which was really important for us. And we sat down and actually outlined those. But there are day-to-day things where even within our own remits. So, for example, Nikki will write some copy, and I'll be like, oh, actually, should we maybe say it this way? So, for example, we always try to talk to small business owners, because for us, it's all about the human. At the end of the day, it's not about the business; it's about the owner of the business, working with them or owners. So we try and write the word small business owners. So I might pick that up from Nikki's copy and be like, well, actually, would this work? And Nikki would be like, oh, well, I actually think small businesses works here. Really small things like that. There are disagreements, but we just solve them, and sometimes it'll mean one of us backing down and compromising.
I was going to say, how do you resolve them? Do you sit down and chat, talk it through, or what is it?
Yeah. We meet up once a week, don't we?
Sorry, go on.
No, you go on. It's all right.
There's very little time me and Nikki are not talking. We have we have 2 WhatsApp chats. So we have a personal WhatsApp chat and then a tea and marketing WhatsApp chat. So in the space of an hour, we could be putting multiple messages on both of those channels. So it could be, hey, have you booked the tickets for the circus yet? Because yes, we went to the circus together last week with our families, not just the 2 of us. And then 5 minutes later, it could be, oh, I've just heard about this great podcast. Should we take a listen? And that would be on the Tea and Marketing podcast. Tea and Marketing WhatsApp. So that's one of the ways that we kind of communicate. And as you say, yeah, it means we're always talking and we're always kind of thinking about the business stuff in a separate kind of channel as well. So that there's always, we're always talking. So we very rarely can't solve disagreements. Because we're always talking about everything. Communication is just massively
Communication is key, isn't it?
Yeah. We've not come across anything. There's not been any. We've not had any major disagreements. It's just small grumbles. But I'm like, no, Jen, that's not grammatically correct.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, but it sounds good. I'm like, yeah, but it's making my eyes twitch because there's too many commas.
And I think we both said very early on, our other halves, who we're all friends kind of as a 4. My wife, Nikki's husband, as a kind of people, they are much more pragmatic than we are. They are the kind 100%. Of people who would literally sit us down in a room and bang our heads together if we were having a big disagreement. So yeah, that's really
fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's nothing that can't be resolved, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't look at me like that.
Let's come out.
I was just looking at you intently,
Most things can be resolved through.
Yes. We've always said if it's at the detriment of our friendship, that's the thing we'd rather save is our friendship. Yeah. If it comes at the detriment of that, then we would maybe make, it's not obviously, but maybe make a decision that maybe it's not right. But I think it was also just through working unofficially together for 6 months before, or 6, 7 months, something, however long it was, before we set up Tea and Marketing, we knew that it would work. And while we might both have different working styles and working patterns, it does still work because we still got the shared values and the shared ethos and the shared sort of work drive. But we understand each other as well. I think that's where our friendship probably does come in. We met we usually meet on a Thursday at the gym and do some work together and do some yoga and swimming as well. Nice work-life balance. But there was one day Jen was like to me, she's like, there's something not right with you today. There's something off, I can tell. Next day I woke up full of cold. But she knew, because she was my friend first, she knew that something wasn't quite right with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think being in business together has strengthened or changed that personal relationship in any way?
I don't think it's actually been that big a change, but possibly because we were, as Nikki mentioned, we were unofficially working together, i.e. we were supporting each other, setting up our businesses and kind of, talking about how we could work together and share skills. Possibly that eased us into it. But I think the one thing is we see each other more, but we just have to be mindful of keeping, it's not completely separating our friendship and our work life, but we do have to kind of make sure that there are some boundaries if we need them, such as having those WhatsApp groups, the 2 separate WhatsApp groups, for example. And, just saying, right, no work chat, we're doing this, we're at the circus, we're not talking about work right now. But I don't think really on a practical level it's had much difference at all, really.
Right.
No, it probably has strengthened it though. I think it's probably had the positive effect. I think, I know personally, having Jen go self-employed at the same time was so valuable. We were there to sort of hype each other up, to push each other. Jen made me go to networking in person, which I was really nervous about doing, and that kind of stuff. So, and then obviously, joining together, I think it has probably strengthened it. And like Jen alluded to earlier, we already spoke a million times a day. Anyway, we already exchanged 1,000,001 WhatsApp messages and voice notes between each other. Now it's just one's business and one's personal.
Yeah. And I suppose that commitment of sort of going self-employed at the same time was useful as well, wasn't it? You both made the commitment, didn't you? There wasn't one sort of saying, I'm going to do it, and the other one hanging back a bit, just in case. I'm not quite sure. That I think that was nice that you did that both together. It seems.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Independently, you didn't know each other was going to do that.
No, I texted her when I quit my job. She rang. She went, "Do you want me to ring you?" And I went, "Yes." And she went, "Oh, by the way," she was like, first of all, she's like, "How are you feeling?" All that kind of stuff. "Oh, by the way, I quit my job last week." And I was like, we talk every day. Why do I not know this already? and then she Jen, her wife, and her little boy came round to ours, and we all, mine and my husband's, we all got takeaway and sort of celebrated the fact that we were both going self-employed and with our respective partners and stuff. That's that night. So it's because she's just like, "Do you want us to come round tonight?" I was like, "Yeah," because I was a little bit nervous. She'd already been a week ahead. She'd already processed things a bit better than I had.
And how has sort of suddenly becoming self-employed, how's that impacted your family life? Has it changed your family life in any way? Obviously, your partners and husbands and wives accept that, but has it changed anything for them, do you think?
I think my husband says I'm less of a nightmare to live with, probably, because I'm not.
No.
I'm not offloading on him every 5 minutes about how stressed I am.
Yeah.
I think for me, so my wife's a nurse and she already worked very flexibly anyway. It was a really strange time because we'd just had COVID and all the lockdowns, and I'd been in a different job and been furloughed, and then left that job to go on parental leave, and then started this new job, and it was only 6 months in when I left it. So things were already quite up in the air anyway. So I think me going self-employed is something I've been talking about for a long time, running a marketing business. And I think my wife was just so supportive and so happy. And I think both her and Nikki's husband were just so happy that we had someone close to share it with, and to, kind of things like, just sharing, "Oh, my accountant says this, what does your accountant say?" Even before we had the business together, just because we didn't know what we were doing. And
on your world.
I don't think anyone does when they first start out. So
No, they don't.
Yeah, so I think they were happy that we had that support as well.
My husband's been nothing but supportive the whole, he's for me throughout our relationship, but he's the one that pushed me to quit my job.
Wow.
He's actually the one that told me to do it because he could see that it was affecting me, and we both quit our jobs around Christmas 2021, I think it was. So then I went, I had to tell my mum and my dad over Christmas that I'd quit my job and had nothing to go to, or in inverted commas, nothing to go to, telling them the plan and everything. And after the initial shock, they were like, "No, actually, I think this will be the best thing for you." And my mum says she can see when she sees me now, she can see such a difference.
Yeah.
So even extended family have seen that it's been beneficial.
So what's the best bit about being in business together so far?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Just always having someone to talk about stuff with. even when I was employed, you know, as a marketeer, you get a lot of times when you're putting things live. So, you know, you're hitting go on a Facebook post, or you're sending an email or something. And even after 15 odd years, it's still quite a lot of pressure sometimes. And when it's your own business, it's even worse, because you're like, oh gosh, have I said something I'm going to regret? Like, you know, what have I spelt everything right? Is someone going to come back and tell me I'm an idiot? And it's just nice to be able to send things to Nikki or ask her questions and just get that reassurance all the time, basically. You know, we're always there for each other. And I think that, for me personally, is one of just the nicest things to be able to do, to not have to go through the whole thing on your own and pretend you know everything all the time.
Yeah. Having somebody to bounce ideas off, isn't it? And just somebody who's got your back, really.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, if it is a partnership, and, you know, there might be times when one person, for whatever reason, needs to take more of a lead on something, you know, and the other needs to take, you know, might need to take a step back or a lead on a different thing. But we're all like, you know, as long as we're both open, which we are, and communicate with the other one, we can then resolve that, so it doesn't get to a point where the other person feels like they're being chased, or the other person feels like they're having to chase the other one. So we just like, you know what, I'm poorly or whatever, I can't do this, or I've got a client in my own business, so I'm going to have to, you know, step back on that kind of thing. So having open channels of communication. But absolutely, it, like even before we set up the business, like I said before, both going self-employed at the same time was so helpful, because we were able to not only support each other, but if Jen learned something, she would tell me. If I learned something, I would tell her. So we've gone on this whole journey together from the beginning. So it was, like Jen said, it was inevitable that we probably would go in business together. My husband kept joking, actually, about when were we going to set a business up together.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it must have the gift of second sight then, I reckon.
Yeah. Don't give him too much praise.
All right. We'll ease up on that a bit. I've got a question I want to ask you. I think it's one of my favourite questions. And I think I'll start with Nikki, and then we'll go over to Jen. So Jen, you get a bit of a heads up here, so you know what the question's going to be. Nikki, what's Jen's most annoying habit at work?
Most annoying habit?
Yeah.
She might not have any.
What you might. We like to dig.
I'm just trying to think of the one, and I'm joking.
There's several.
I suppose the one, we had a funny one recently where she forgot to book. She said she'd booked me on an event, and then hadn't, and told me it started at 10. And then told me on the day it started at 9:30, just as I was jumping in the shower. So I had to get ready really, really quickly and then rush across town. So like, it's not like that was, it's not necessarily annoying habits as general, but that was quite a funny one. It was all fine. We got there. They were happy for me to be there and everything. But I know she felt really, really guilty about it.
It's to defend myself slightly. I agree. And I think, to me, like, that having to organise two people is a new thing for me. So I've always been quite independent at work, and I'm an only child. So, you know, and Nikki is too.
Yeah, I am as well.
But yeah, so because I kind of did take on a bit of that role of like booking events and things, it just suddenly became apparent. I was like, oh, I have to really think about this now and make sure that we're both catered for. And it was just a bit of a new thing. So yeah, I definitely would agree that is something that I have already got better at, but yeah, it is, I'm sure, very
it can be annoying.
It wasn't annoying. It was maybe a bit stressed when I was driving in, like, oh my god, am I going to be late? But afterwards, it was absolutely fine, and we just laughed about it. Like, you know, I was like, if they're not going to let me in, I'll just go sit in the coffee shop and with a cup of tea and do some work, and you can brief me afterwards. Like, it wasn't, you know, in the scheme of things, it wasn't a big thing, despite me like feeling a bit stressed on the morning. But yeah.
And how about you, Jen? Is there anything that Nikki does? She wouldn't do that.
Oh no, yeah. To be honest, we have a very shared bad habit, which we're both really bad at. Which is that we are very good at getting off topic. Sometimes, we
or going on tangents.
Yeah, going on tangents, and also we both are very ideas driven people. So we come up with lots of ideas, and that sounds great, but actually sometimes you just need to get on with the ones you've got, not try and think of more. And I think Nikki's ever so slightly worse at that than I am. So it's a shared bad habit, but Nikki maybe just has the edge on it. And
she has to rein me in sometimes.
What was that? Sorry?
You have to rein me in sometimes. Like, we're working on this idea. And I'm like, well, I have 5 million more of them.
Yeah, I've got that T-shirt as well. I'm a bit like you, Nikki.
Yeah, you have to rein in.
Yeah. The next shiny thing I find. Yeah.
Like after this, I'll be like, we can do a podcast.
You can.
As long as we can be your guests.
100%.
You mentioned you go to the gym and everything for sort of to relax and that, but even in your downtime, do you talk about the business, or do you try and say, right, we're not going to, after 5 o'clock on Friday, it's the weekend, we're not going to talk about the business anymore, we're just going to get on with what we're doing and then come back on Monday morning, or does it work?
No, not really, no. Because we have the separate WhatsApp chats, but we'll put in it if it's urgent. So or this is non-urgent, come back to it. But we sometimes work different hours. Jen sometimes works evenings. So she sometimes is sending me stuff at 10 o'clock at night, but she knows I'm going to bed and I'll have muted the chat and I will pick it up in the morning. And she knows if it's urgent, she just needs to put that in a message or ring me. Although she knows at 10 o'clock at night she's going to get nothing from me because I'm there. My husband and her, they're the ones that chat after 10 o'clock. Like, not about work, about stuff, because they're both up. They're both night owls. So yes, it's she knows I'm going to bed, or I'm on a, like, sometimes she gets me if I'm on a TikTok scroll, but most of the time I'm not. But then again, flip side, or maybe earlier on the morning when she's getting a little one to nursery and everything, I might be messaging more, and then she'll get back to me maybe mid-morning or something. So it's like, that's what I think I said it earlier on. It's not necessarily about we don't necessarily have the same working hours and pattern, but we know what the other one does, and as long as we're working towards shared goals and setting deadlines that work for both of us, then it works. Whereas I'm much more of a kind of, mid-morning, mid-afternoons when I get my most creativity.
Right.
It sounds like your differences are good for the business. It gives that contrast, doesn't it? And you complement each other.
Exactly.
Basically. So if you could go back to 2021, Christmas 2021, would you do all this again?
100%.
Yeah, 110%.
In fact, we would probably just start working together straight away.
Yeah.
Knowing how easy it was.
Exactly. Yeah. Going business from the offset. But no, I 100% wouldn't change setting up businesses and going self-employed. It's just, it's changed my life in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, self-employment is the best in our opinion.
It gives you freedom, doesn't it? It gives you lots of hassle and headaches, but it also gives you freedom as well, doesn't it? It's a double-edged sword, really, but it's nice to have that freedom, isn't it? I think as well.
And it's satisfying.
If you could go back, is there anything you would change? Anything you would do differently? Do you think?
I think, like Jen said, we would definitely probably have set the business up together earlier, for sure.
But then one of the reasons we didn't is because we were still learning about what it meant to be in business and what we wanted to do. So my business, I left the world of marketing, employed marketing, and thought I will be a marketing consultant, and just had in my head exactly how it was going to work, and realized I didn't want to do that, and I didn't like doing it the way that I thought I had to, as kind of a marketing freelancer. And so I learned over the kind of year or however long it was what I wanted and what was important to me, the training, the mentoring. And that's where we experienced the networking and knowing that, what people needed. And we found the gap in the market and we found the value that we could add. So actually, whilst we both said, we'd just go into business straight away, I don't think it would have worked.
Maybe not.
That. So it happened for a reason.
Yeah, you needed that time to build up to it, to explore. Yeah.
Like, I set my business up as a coaching business, which I still do on the side. I do a small amount of coaching on the side so I did a coaching course in lockdown, and which actually has benefited our business as well, because we're doing mentoring and coaching as well. And so I do so I've got a client at the moment, so I've got eczema, so I do a small amount of coaching for people who've got skin conditions and food intolerances.
All right.
So that's how I set up the business, and I wasn't sure. Like, Jen kept telling me, and my husband kept telling me to do freelancing, but I just wasn't. I wasn't sure about it. Despite the fact that I've been writing for 10 years, like I think I was nervous about it, and I just needed a bit of a break and everything. So I actually made the decision of getting a part-time job, still in marketing. That's the kind of decision I made at the time while I was setting up the business. And then a couple of freelance jobs kind of landed on my desk through networking, through referrals. I took them. I was nervous. I think I rang Jen like, oh my God, can I do this? And she was like, why couldn't you? Because if you did it at work, you're like, you can do it. And then I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I do still like writing. I just didn't want to do it in the way I'd done it before.
Yeah.
So then I started taking copywriting clients on. So I suppose I went through my journey, a similar kind of journey of what I wanted to do. I think I had this really weird mindset that to set up a business, I had to do it in something completely different to what I'd done, like to my background. But actually, no, I can do the thing that's like my passion project and do the stuff that I've been doing for 10 years that I still really love and I'm good at as well.
I think when you've worked in the corporate world for a long time or for a few years, you don't really realise the skills you've acquired and the knowledge you've acquired that's sort of transferable. The stuff you've learnt for granted. And then when you come out into being self-employed, you think, oh, actually, no, I know about that. Oh, yeah, I can do it. Oh, I've heard of that before. And there's all sorts of things that come out, I think, from that you've picked up that you haven't realised you've picked up. You think, oh, God, I only know this X and I can't do anything else. But that's not true. I think if a lot of people reflected on what they've learned and what they know, they could do far more.
And I think Jen, yeah, absolutely. I think you said it to me last week, Jen, or a couple of weeks ago, that, yeah, I think Jen said it to me a few weeks ago, like, because I said basically the same, because I think we were saying, like, why didn't we go in business? She's like, well, because you wanted to do the coaching thing first. I was like, oh, yeah, which I obviously still am doing. But I think, the copywriting thing, I think Jen said it to me is perfect. Like, if the coaching didn't work out, well, I was like, oh, well, it was something new. I was trying something new. I'd never done it before. I could just, reason myself for that. Whereas if doing copywriting failed, that fear of failure probably came into it as well. Whereas because I'd done it for 10 years, it's like, well, I should be able to do this. So I think it was just having the confidence in myself as well. And Jen's absolutely helped me push that. She's always my biggest hype woman.
So what sort of advice would you give someone who's thinking of going into business with friend,
relative, whatever it might be?
Whatever.
Do you want me to take it? Yeah. So I think we've alluded to it a few times, but having shared values is really, really important. So at the end of the day, our personal and our business values very much align. When we were looking at the structure of this business, it's all centered around small businesses. So it's not just about us supporting small business owners with their marketing. As we said before, we don't want to be a agency. We want to help other small businesses, so we'll contract out to other small businesses as well, making sure that our spaces are inclusive as well. That kind of thing. We say that we're working towards hopefully one day being carbon neutral, but at the moment we say we're carbon mindful, so we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we don't have a large carbon footprint, and that we educate our clients on that as well. So that's been, really, really important. So I would say that really make sure that at the crux of it, that your business goals, missions, values, vision, all align. Mm-hmm. Even if you have, like I say, we have vastly different remits, but we're working towards the same thing.
What about you, Jen?
I mean, obviously, I completely agree with the values thing as well. I think that really is important. Actually sitting down and having a conversation about that, which we did really early on before we even put it into a business document, which we now have. But the other thing is communication. And again, we've alluded to it several times, having our, WhatsApp is the way that we chat. That's just what we do. We always have as friends, and it's just what works for us. Voice messages, that is, not text messages. Deciding really early on to have that separate stream. And it's hard. Like sometimes we still put things in the wrong chat and everything, but being able to have that communication method that works for both of us, that we know, as Nikki says, I can put something on there at midnight, but I know she's not going to read it until 7 a.m. or she can put it on at 7 knowing I won't get up until 9. It's really, really important. So whatever your relationship is with the other person right now, you need to make sure that the communication is kind of managed. So you're not going to still talk in the same way. There will be things like conversations around whether you are going to set those boundaries. You might be someone for whom switching off at 5 p.m. on a Friday for the whole weekend work so that you can still have your friendship or relationship without talking about work. Or you might be someone who actually work kind of just filters into your life generally, and so you're always going to have conversations about it. But being open and transparent is really crucial about everything. So we have a shared calendar, for example. We don't put every little thing, it's not like we're that up in each other's business that we know every single thing that's happening. But, we just put personal time. And that could mean anything from a dentist appointment to time with our families to just, but because we're open and transparent and honest, and we share that kind of thing, or at least share like, look, I've got personal time this day. Don't book me any meetings. I'm not going to be any help to you. That sort of thing is really crucial. And being able to tell each other, I'm not having a good day. Like, I'm not going to be able to do anything creative today, or I'm going to suck at admin today. So, knowing that the other person's there to kind of help with the support. So, communication in all those different ways.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you, ladies.
points,
Thank you.
And if people do want to get in touch, nearly forgot that, but if people do want to get in touch with you and find out more about what you do, or try and look for some of the services that you offer, what's the best way? How should they get in touch?
There's our website, tnmarketing.co.uk. You can email us at hello@tnmarketing.co.uk. And we're both very active on LinkedIn as well. Always the best way to find us individually and find out more about what we do.
Okay, we'll put those links in the show notes so people can click through and get in touch. And it's been really lovely chatting with you and hearing about your journey from employment to partnership, not just self-employment, but being in a partnership. It's been lovely. Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now we come to our knowledge share of the week. So what do we have this week as our knowledge share, Tracy?
The one I've got for you this week is called Sway, and it's basically for taking card payments, but all you need to do is set your phone up as the payment terminal, and it's very easy to set up. There's no contracts, and you can just take credit card payments wherever you are. We'll put the details in the show notes, so let us know what you think.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. We'd love to see you at one of our networking events. Be sure to check out the website for upcoming events. If you'd like to learn more about networking, why not take a look at our networking know-how courses, designed to help you improve your networking skills.
We also have a series of books available on Amazon, such as How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills. It's 52 tips to help you with your networking. Our Notably Networking one-to-one notebook is a place to keep all your notes from those follow-up one-to-ones. And not forgetting our 90 Days to Your Success journal, where you can plan, set and plot the actions you will take to achieve your goals.
We hope you'll join us again next time. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening, we really appreciate it, and until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together we are in business.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.